The wares here are shoddy-looking weapons built out of questionable parts. I like shoddy constructions built of questionable parts. Those are my favorite kind of wares. Small food booth. The portions look meager. A stall selling old knickknacks for everyday needs. Oh, there's the Koronus. The buzzing crowd is closed in on several harried-looking individuals. Some of their faces are smeared with fresh blood. The angry cries and twisted faces leave no doubt. A massacre is about to take place. Just cut their throats already. What were they thinking letting that ship dock at Footfall? They're all stricken. Oh, they're talking about the quarantine that we've heard mention of. No cutting. We get their blood on us. We'll be tainted too. Better burn them. Ooh, you have a portrait. Hieronymus Doloroso. Huh. Be quiet, you scoundrel. A priest clad in simple black raiment cuts through the crowd like a voidship crossing the sky. You dare pass judgment on others? What arrogance, to think you have the right. Argenta starts at the side of the elderly priest. That's Reverend Hieronymus. I'm surprised he's decided to intervene in a street squabble. Intervene, what's going on here? Watch in silence, or leave the square without getting involved. What's going on here? Several dozen gazes bore into you. And who are you supposed to be? I'm Ignatius, road trader of the Von Valentius dynasty. We are not going to say that because we are still incognito. I am an envoy of the Von Valentius dynasty, a concerned citizen, an armed one. I suggest you think well before giving me lip. I'm an envoy of the Von Valentius dynasty. You come from Lady Theodora? The rabble-rouser bows his head respectfully. Pardon me, noble sir. We were just, rooting out heresy here. These scrawny ones, they're from a ship that came back from the bowels of the Koronus Expanse. They've got plague there, and mutants, and now they're spreading that rot everywhere. That taint. They're all... Silence. You must be completely out of your minds. A band of woefully dim-witted reprobates who think themselves bringers of justice. Who are you to pass judgment on anyone? All you ought to be doing is suffering and repenting till the end of your days. All you ought to be doing is suffering and repenting. There's a line. What's wrong with that, Reverend? We just want to put these heretics to death. We're not heretics. A haggard man is on the verge of tears. We're refugees, I swear it on the Golden Throne. We served the Imperium faithfully until they hung us out to dry. We were the protectors that were meant to shield the lands of humanity from nightmares. Or where were the protectors that were meant to shield the lands of humanity from nightmares? Traitors and heretics, the lots of them. A murmur runs through the crowd. The people gawk at you, at the priest, at the wretched group huddling in the center. How tiring. The motley sea of colors that fills this restless crowd is hard on the eyes. So many hues. Most of them are acid yellow streaks of fear. Their red buds swelling, ready to burst and paint all who are gathered here. Cassia looks at the crowd of troublemakers warily, and they shudder at the very sight of her. As for the hearts of those who have been forced to defend themselves, they are shrouded in purplish-black grief, but their words are as transparent as the ice that lies at the top of a glacier. But commoners are always deaf to others' suffering, for such is their nature. Interfering in their affairs is hardly worthy of you or me, Ignatius. Address the refugees. Those are serious accusations you're spouting. I hope you have proof to back them up. Coercion. I represent the Von Valentius, masters of Kiava Gamma, and thus I have the right to decide what to do with these people. I command the onlookers to disperse. As for the rest of you, go to Dock Alpha Rho and await further instructions. Okay. All onlookers are to return to their homes immediately. The refugees can go to Dock Alpha Rho. I will speak to you later. Comply or face the consequences. So we're just going to take... I guess with this one, we take the refugees as people on board our ship to work for us. This one, it seems like we're taking the refugees and the instigators. Now to the rabble-rousers in the crowd. The people before you insulted those instated by the throne to be above them, and thus they deserve death. I'm gonna first ask for proof. Those are serious accusations you're spouting. I hope you have proof to back them up. What more proof do I need? The man shouts. Kiaba Gamma used to be a prosperous world. My family transported goods from there for generations. And then they came. They butchered, tortured, sacrificed entire blocks to the darkness. We were on our ship, up in orbit, and all these messages started coming in. Half the wardens down there joined them right away. And they even reached us in our ship with some blight that made half our crew take their own lives. We barely escaped. We barely made it here. Why? Why did this happen to us? Wonder if... I mean, this is a different system, but is this still related to Aurora and the Final Dawn? I wonder what this is about. Is our planet really under attack? Or did some devious opportunist send these slanderers here to undermine the might of the Von Valentius dynasty? Who could it be, I wonder? Yeah, I think I'm going to grab both the instigators and the refugees and offer them jobs, being the nice, kind person that I am. I represent the Von Valentius Masters of Kiava Gamma, and thus I have the right to decide what to do with these people. I command the onlookers to disperse. As for the rest of you, go to Dock Alpha Rho and await further instructions. Rabble-rousers look at you morosely. I don't want to get in trouble over this lot. The refugees use the interruption to make off in the direction of Dock Alpha Rho. Oh, was it also just getting the refugees? So we didn't also get the instigators? The arrogance and self-righteousness of a malefactor. The priest shakes his head disapprovingly. Then his eyes shift to you. I'm Reverend Hieronymus Doloroso, head of the Rusian mission here on Footfall. I thank you for stepping in. Please, come see me when you have time. We can talk then. I shall. We were planning to talk to him at some point because Argenta wants to meet with him. We already looked at those. So we've got Drusian Preacher. Anything you want to say? Doubt is the first step towards heresy. Deliver your weak minds from thought and direct all aspirations of the soul to the service.
Never doubt me.
In this mishmash of devices and cables, you notice equipment from totally different eras, some ancient, and some merely old, and others hastily tossed together in more recent years. We've got another few pamphlets scattered about. We need no rulers, blah blah blah. About this one. Yep, read that one as well. And this one. A and V is leaving tons of leaflets around. So Hieronymus is up here. Okay. Another lore Imperium test.
The Emperor favors me today.
This statue undoubtedly depicts Parsimius Duane, the legendary rogue trader who founded Footfall. What is this action? Or is this another one of the, like, circle around and view things? No, apparently not. Besides, this cogitator would be enough to break any tech priest's heart. The machine is leaning slightly to one side, grimy, covered in scrawled drawings, with frivolous writing scratched here or there on the casing. Several keys are missing, and the rest are coated with dust. Pascal's respirator lets out a mournful hiss before he says grimly, "The right of operation has been repeatedly and blasphemously violated, requesting the identification and punishment of the deplorable acolyte entrusted with caring for the spirit of this machine." Well, we can have Pascal try to repair it, with a 140% chance to succeed. After a series of creaks and groans, the cogitator's dusty screen lights up. On it are several lines of text, section headings. Praise the Omnissiah. The machine spirit of this cogitator is aggrieved but willing to serve. Accompanied by the crackling of a binaric prayer, Pascal's mechadendrites gently place a couple of keys lying on the floor back into place. Select the section titled Welcome. The screen flickers a few times before revealing to the world a text in Low Gothic. In the name of the founder of Footfall Station, conqueror of stars, and builder of outposts, the noblest rogue trader Parsimus Duane, and on behalf of all his descendants, I welcome you. This cogitator was installed on the orders of the illustrious Persimus, so that the needy may tap into the flow of wisdom. Cast your eyes upon the list of sections and choose what you wish to know. Abelard's brow furrows. Persimus Duane, I've never heard of such a rogue trader house. And Lord Captain Persimus Duane, one of the trailblazers of the Koronus Expanse and this station's founder. I've read about his great deeds. Lord Duane was once a colonel of the Astra Militarum, but by his will, later inherited a warrant. He accumulated enough power to gather a small fleet of loyal allies and ventured out to conquer the Koronus Expanse. They say Footfall was meant to be his personal palace world, but the construction dragged on for decades, and Lord Persimus eventually died of old age. His enemies instantly tore Footfall to pieces and turned it into the bastion of humanity we know today, one that is full of bandits, privateers, hustlers, and rogue traders. Pleased with herself, Cassia nods slightly to let everyone know that the lecture is over. And let's read the section titled About Footfall. Footfall Station has been envisioned by the great Persimus Duane as a palace in the stars, as majestic as the spirit and mind of its creator. As of the year of this cogitator's installation, merely a small fraction of the great Persimus's designs have yet been made a reality, but already their audacity and grandeur are staggering. Footfall is to become the gateway to the savage and barely explored Koronus Expanse, a foothold for future conquest by Imperium and noble Persimus Duane, who acts by the Emperor's will. The cogitator wheezes and blinks, clearly trying to shut down. Emergency repair, again, 125% chance to succeed. The cogitator whirs and the screen turns back on. One of the first structures on Footfall was the colossal statue of the Emperor. A whole asteroid was used for the creation of the sculpture, but even its titanic proportions cannot convey the awe that every faithful servant of the Imperium feels before the Master. The statue is the center of Footfall, in the same way that the Emperor is the center and heart of the Imperium. As construction progresses, new, smaller asteroids are being attached to the statue, their surface serving as a foundation for glorious palaces and temples, and their inner tunnels as home for the commoners and rabble. And Persimus Duane's design. The cogitator flickers and grunts before displaying a tapestry of text. The great Persimus Duane intends to conquer the Koronus Expanse and build the most grandiose structure, which will shine through the ages, praising the names of its creator and his descendants. Footfall, the palace in the stars, the glory of the great Persimus deeds, will live on through the ages, and his grand designs. The cogitator hisses and grunts as it tries to clean its insides by spewing out dust and detritus through its cracks. The cogitator hisses for a while, then the screen flickers and once more shows the words, "The great Persimus Duane intends to conquer." Pascal's Vox wheezes mournfully. The spirit of this machine is enraged and will perform its function no more. I will see to it that the profaners responsible for its maintenance are marked for servo penitence. Well, we learned a bit more about Persimus. Oh, we've already read that. Let's level up before we go talk to Hieronymus Doloroso. So we are an arch-militant, which focuses on versatility between attacks, which is not how we typically work, but we can switch between our ballistic and psi skills, and hopefully that counts. The Arch-Militant's next attack, if it hits, will cause all the targets... We don't have anything marked, right? No, because we just got these, so I have to read through all these. Will cause the next target... Cause all the targets to make a toughness resistance test with a -8 penalty. If failed, the targets will suffer a negative effect based on the attack's damage type. Impact damage knocks the target prone for a round. Piercing and rending inflicts bleeding and slowed on the target until the end of combat. Energy and all other damage inflicts blinded on the target until the end of combat. Power swords and power axes count as both energy and rending, while power hammers counts as both energy and impact. Attacks that combine several types of damage will benefit from each additional effect. That's pretty powerful. In our case, I think it would mainly be energy and therefore just blind targets. And blind doesn't seem to be that impressive from what we've seen. Like, we've blinded several targets and they just still attacked us. Arch-Militant immediately gains 8 movement points. If the Arch-Militant has stacks of versatility, they gain +3 more stacks of versatility, which lasts until the end of their turn. I don't remember what versatility did. Use an attack that is a different type from the previous attack. Gains versatility. Valid attack types are single shot, melee attack, single target or burst, area melee, area ranged, or ranged burst. Yeah. I think probably my ignite probably counts as just a ranged single target, single shot, which is what our sniper rifle also is. So we don't really have good ways of switching attacks. We could give ourselves a burst weapon so that we could switch between single shot, or we could use our staff's lightning. That probably counts as area ranged or ranged burst or something, maybe. We have 4 more stacks of versatility. The Archmilitant deals an additional weapon skill or ballistic skill bonus, whichever is highest. So we're just trying to get enough stacks. It's not that the stacks themselves raise the bonus, but once we're over 4, we then do more damage. Okay. So looking back at this, we gain 8 movement points. If we have a stack of versatility, we gain 3 more for the turn. Meh. The Archmilitant's next attack this turn will cost 0 AP and will not count towards the attack limit per turn. Ooh. Although this costs 3 AP to use. The cost of this ability is reduced by 1 AP for every 4 stacks of versatility. I like that. If we make use of that, we could potentially get lots of extra attacks in on a turn. Certainly by the end of combat, after we've been switching attacks and have built up quite a bit of versatility, then our attacks just start getting cheaper and cheaper. The Archmilitant gains the cautious approach effect until the end of combat, or until this ability is used again, or until using combat confident approach. Instead of the usual bonuses from versatility, the Archmilitant gains dodge and parry for every stack. Okay. He already has four more stacks of versatility. The Archmilitant removes all slowed, blinded, bleeding, burning, and toxin effects from themselves, becomes immune to these. So it just makes us dodgier rather than do more damage. This one, confident approach. Instead of the usual bonuses, gains plus 3% dodge reduction and parry reduction, ignores 3% of enemy cover for every stack. All the Archmilitant's attacks score critical hits, but the Archmilitant's critical damage on those attacks is reduced by half. No. Kick. That's random. Makes a melee attack with a kick, dealing 6 damage instead of a weapon damage. This attack does not count towards the attack limit per turn, and counts as a single melee attack for the purpose of versatility. Not terribly impressed with any of that. We could grab another psychic tree. Or I could grab some of these. Until the end of combat, all burning effects will deal plus 14 more damage. Every burning creature in combat immediately suffers damage. Yo. That's strong. Yeah. Where's the 14 coming from? 2 times the psyker's willpower bonus. Okay, so it's not based on our psi rating. That's what I was wondering. Because is this going to just keep going up? Technically, if we keep building our willpower bonus, it will, but no, it's basically stuck at 14. But 14's still really good. What's Molten Beam? Deals double the damage of Ignite to all... Double Ignite is crazy. To all creatures in a 12-cell line, and reduces their armor by 14 until the end of combat. A If the enemy's armor falls to 0, it gains the warp burn effect. Warp burn deals 11 damage to the target at the end of their turn. With 10% armor penetration, target creature must pass an agility resistance test with -10 to stop burning. So this allows us to do a really powerful ignite to all creatures in a line, which is amazing. Which is better, though. We're definitely grabbing one of these. What about Incinerate? What do you take? Psyker Terminus, and then either Molten Beam or Inflame. Target suffers double the damage of Ignite, Psychic Power, and half the fire damage of all the burning creatures within line of sight of the target. Wow. So the more people we get burning, we can just hit one person for crazy damage. I'm going to go with Inflame. And the reason why is that I have regularly ended turns after using Ignite, Run and Gun, Ignite again, and the other Orchestrate Flames. There it is. It's right there. And I'll usually end up with 1 AP left. Not 2. So having an ability that can make use of that single Inflame probably is valuable. I think so. Then again, you could argue that I would have the same extra action point if I just switched out one of my ignites for a Molten Beam, which is equally valid. But no, I think Inflame. That'll help us take down single large targets, which is mainly what we focus on, rather than being able to take out, if we're lucky, a line of enemies. How often are we going to run across a line of enemies? We can easily get like 2 people lined up, but more than that, I don't know. I'm fine with that. Molten Beam we're going to probably take next level, or next time it gives us the option, because it sounds really good. Cassia, you are a Grand Strategist, so what options do you have that are awesome? Grand Strategist chooses one of the combat tactics areas. For 1 round, all enemies in that area are forced to re-roll successful dodge and parry tests against all attacks. Any enemies that suffer damage and are left with less than 16 wounds immediately die. Whoa. Grand Strategist chooses one of the combat tactics areas. For 1 round, all attacks by allies in that area inflict the Overwhelmed effect on any enemy that fails a willpower resistance test for 1 round. Overwhelmed. Creature suffers -21 ballistic skill, -25 rate of fire, -13 weapon skill. Additionally, melee creatures have their movement points reduced by 3, and ranged creatures try to get behind cover. Creature counts as melee creature if it has at least 1 melee weapon, and this additional effect does not work on some stronger enemies. Meh. Doesn't sound as cool. It's not bad. I'll mark it. Killzone sounds great, though. Grand Strategist chooses one of the combat tactics areas. For 1 round, all allies in the area gain more armor, cannot be overpenetrated, gain immunity to the prone effect, gain +2 deflection against area attacks. Additionally, they do not suffer injuries for receiving damage. Grand Strategist chooses one of the combat tactics areas. For 1 round, all allies within the range of 8 cells gain the ability to move to that area. Its movement does not provoke attacks of opportunity and does not spend movement points. Huh. Weird. That would have potentially uses, since she can just move a strategy or a tactic area on her turn, and then all allies can just get there for free if they're close by. Combat Locust Stratagem. For 1 round, the target area's bonuses are doubled. All other tactical areas are discharged. It cannot be used this turn. It can be designated again next round. Probably not. Chooses one of the combat tactics areas for 1 round. All allies in that area gain 13% cover efficiency and reroll all failed characteristic tests. Also not amazing. Wounds of Fate. Target gains plus 30% increased hit chance on their next attack, dodge on their next dodge test, and chance of success on the next resistance test. These bonuses disappear independently from each other after being applied. It's alright. We've already marked that one as good. Navigator deals damage to an enemy. That enemy must pass a willpower resistance test to become immobilized. We can unmark those because we've already grabbed them. Reveal the light. Target ally gains 22 to their willpower and toughness until the end of combat. She could give us plus 22 to our willpower? Dude. That is so crazy, because our willpower is already like 70. So that would bring our willpower to 92. Like, that is madness. The amount of damage we would do with all of our psychic abilities. And it's only 1 AP to use? That's crazy. Navigator creates a circle within a 3-cell radius. Any creature not that is inside of it enters it or ends their turn inside, not under the effects of apathy. Makes a willpower resistance test. Failure applies the apathy effect to the creature. They become immobilized. After 1 round passes under the effect of apathy, the target must make a willpower resistance test. Success removes apathy. Failure stuns the creature for 1 round, removes apathy, and makes the creature immune to any further. So it just immobilizes and stuns enemies entering that space. All enemies in a 2-cell radius around the target point must pass a willpower resistance test. Those who fail, even if they are stunned or immobilized, immediately gain an extra turn where they attack their allies. Every time an enemy becomes the target of this navigator power, again during the same combat, they gain a stackable plus 20. Okay, it's alright. Point to an area, make a bunch of enemies, just start fighting themselves. All enemies within the area suffer a 22 penalty to their willpower and toughness. Not as useful. And then Zone of Fear. All creatures in a 3x3 zone must pass a willpower resistance test or immediately move out of the zone, even if they are stunned or immobilized. This movement triggers attacks of opportunity from the navigator's allies that have passed the resistance test or that are outside the zone. Okay. Killzone Strategist. Was that the one that I really liked? Yes. Yes, forced to reroll dodge and parry tests against attacks. Any enemies that suffer damage and are left with low wounds immediately die. Yeah. I think that's going to be really good. But there were quite a few others. She had a lot of good options. Ignatius didn't really have much that I cared about. Pascal, you are an executioner. Right. Sanguination. The executioner immediately inflicts bleeding 5 on an ally of their choice, including themselves. That ally gains a +5 Medicae divided by 10% bonus to dodge and 3 additional movement points until bleeding ends for any reason. Huh. So you just make someone dodgier and faster? I mean, use that on Cabela, who probably has bonuses if she's bleeding. Gift of Torment. Until the end of the next turn, the Executioner gains a bonus to the parameters for each creature, enemy, ally in combat suffering from the following damage over time effects: bleeding, burning, toxin. Bleeding can happen to enemies, not all the time. Burning happens all the time, so this would give him giant bonuses to dodge. It's alright. Merciless Verdict. The Executioner's next ranged attack or psychic staff ability inflicts a damage over time effect on all targets hit. The type of this effect depends on the attack's damage type. Toxin or burning. Well, he's not ranged or psychic staff, so no. All enemies suffer from damage over time effects in a 4-cell radius around the executioner immediately suffer an extra instance of this damage for those effects. They must also pass a resistance test with penalties or suffer an additional negative effect. Sounds pretty good. Executioner replaces 30% of their maximum wounds or their wounds with the same number of temporary wounds until the end of combat. While the Executioner has temporary wounds, all of their melee attacks and damage over time effects deal an additional plus 30% maximum wounds damage. Okay. What does it gain you or harm you by switching your maximum wounds for a chunk of temporary wounds? That just sounds like you're getting a bunch more damage at no real cost. Executioner's next melee attack forces all enemies hit to run away from the Executioner straight line up to 3 cells. During the movement, target does not provoke an opportunity and leaves a bloody trail on the ground, which remains until the end of combat. Movement through these blood-stained cells costs the Executioner 0 movement points. I really think I should have made Cabela an Executioner. It feels like this was made for her. But also Assassin felt like it was made for her. We could have made him an Assassin and made her an Executioner. Probably. Anyway, that also sounds cool. Of these, which one do I think I want him to grab now? A little bit of dodge for people burning isn't amazing. An extra hit of damage over time effects, which is how we took out the combat servitor by just getting 3 hits of the warp fire all at once. This would just get another hit of it. Could be cool. I'm thinking reckless abandon though. Argenta, you are a bounty hunter. Claim the bounty. Bounty hunter makes a free single attack with the selected weapon. This attack always hits, does not end the bounty hunter's movement, but deals only 40% of the bounty hunter's usual damage. After each 3rd enemy killed by Claim the Bounty, the bounty hunter recovers 1 charge of Hunt Down the Prey. Prey. If Claim the Bounty kills a target marked as prey, the bounty hunter receives 2 action points. And that's not bad. Pull the Bold. Bounty hunter's next attack this turn will have additional effects. Deals an additional ballistic skill bonus damage. Enemy armor will be reduced by a small amount. Static again. Come on. I don't know. I'll need to sort it out. Enemy's armor will be reduced by -3 times the target's difficulty tier. The enemy's armor against this attack is below 20%. The enemy's dodge is also decreased by stuff against all bounty hunter attacks until the end of combat. Target of the attack is marked as prey. Its armor and dodge are also reduced against the attacks of the bounty hunter's allies. That is a lot of stuff. Seems like it'd be fine. Bounty hunter's next attack during this turn will have 100% over penetration and 8% armor penetration. The next attack that hits the target marked as prey is always a critical hit. That sounds really good. Are these augs just going to be good? So we use an AP to make our next attack. What is over penetration actually? We've read it. Most non-area ranged weapons attacks have a chance to cause over penetration. When this happens, the attack will also damage the creatures and objects behind the intended target, although the damages to targets beyond the first is usually lower. We have seen that, so that's what it is. Over penetration is when it shoots through an enemy to hit the enemy behind them. Huh. Snare the prey. The bounty hunter sets a trap on a free cell and a 10-cell radius around them. Any enemy entering the 2-cell radius around that trap activates the trap. Each enemy in a 2-cell radius around the trap suffers 12 direct damage. Let's see. Any enemy entering the 2-cell radius around that trap activates the trap. Each enemy in a 2-cell radius around the trap suffers 12 direct damage and must pass an agility resistance test with a -12 penalty or become immobilized. Bounty hunter gains agility bonus movement points at the start of their next turn. Target marked as prey is always immobilized until their next turn. Hot on the trail. Didn't really care for that one. Bounty hunter designates an enemy in a 10-cell radius as trailed and finishes the turn. All allies gain +7% chance to hit against the trailed enemy. 15% of the enemy's difficulty tier is 15% of the enemy's difficulty tier is more than or equal to 5. If an ally kills the trailed enemy, the bounty hunter gains an extra turn after that ally's turn with all AP and MP remaining from the moment the bounty hunter used Hot on the Trail. Okay, so you use this and it immediately ends your turn. And then if an ally kills them, you get the rest of your turn. Bounty hunter gains an additional plus some amount movement points. And the cooldown Hot on the Trail is reset. Hot on the Trail is used for the 3rd time during combat. Bounty hunter receives +1 charge of Hunt Down the Prey. That doesn't sound as amazing. Till the bounty hunter's next turn, whenever an ally attacks the target marked as prey, this attack deals +4% additional damage and gains half the bounty hunter's current bonus to critical hit chance and critical damage granted by Hunt Down the Prey. The words are just starting to blend together. But I liked Claim the Bounty, I think, the most. Cabela. What do you get as an assassin? Death Whisper. The assassin makes an attack that does not count towards the limit of attacks per turn. I always like that when you get free extra attacks. And does not block the assassin's movement, but deals only 25% of the assassin's usual damage. If the attack is successful, the target suffers the hemorrhage effect. Hemorrhage, at the beginning of each of the target's turns, they will suffer 9 rending damage that ignores armor and deflection. Lethality. A specific assassin parameter that is equal to dodge or dodge reduction, whichever is higher. I don't think lethality is mentioned in this, so it's weird that it just throws up that topic. So they just take 9 damage on following turns, which could then potentially be set off by Pascal. Yeah. Sounds good. Elusive Shadow. For 1 round, the assassin becomes the lowest priority target for enemy attacks and gains the elusive effect. The assassin can move through enemies. The assassin gains agility bonus plus agility bonus % dodge and perception bonus dodge reduction. The assassin's attacks deal 10% additional damage, while half cover provides the assassin 50% cover efficiency. Elusive fades when the assassin attacks. So 1 AP to just make it easier to get around. Not bad. Doesn't say you no longer provoke attacks of opportunity, so if you move through an enemy square, you're still going to be attacked, but you have more dodge. Yeah, who knows. Poised to Strike. The assassin makes an enemy suffer 12% armor and -2 deflection until the end of the assassin's turn. If there's only 1 enemy adjacent to them, the assassin also gains plus 12% dodge until the assassin's next turn. If there are no enemies adjacent to the assassin, they gain plus 6% dodge reduction until their next turn. Not bad. The Reduction to armor and deflection could be really good to take out tankier enemies. Danse Macabre. The assassin dashes in a straight line for up to 4 cells, suffering -5 less damage from attacks of opportunity, and gaining 12% dodge against enemies they dash through until the next assassin's turn. If they've not dashed through any enemies, at the end of their turn they gain +6% cover efficiency to their cover until the assassin moves. Doesn't stack with itself. After the first use, the assassin can use this ability again for free. So, first time they use it, it costs 1 AP, but after that, they can use it for free. Because getting her around would always be nice. And the ability to move 4 squares could get her into a position where she could either jump or do one of her other attacks. Seems good. Assassin's next single target attack will have a -50% armor penetration penalty with a minimum of 0 armor penetration and +10 lethality. See, here they're mentioning lethality. Why do they have lethality described on Death Whisper if it's not used until fainting attack? They should have described it on this power. If it is a melee attack, the target rotates 180 degrees. Right. The enemy's dodge and parry against the assassin attack is equal to 0% until the start of the enemy's turn. If it is a ranged attack, the target is forced to move to the closest cell in a 3-cell range with no adjacent cover facing towards the assassin. This movement provokes attacks of opportunity. So this one would make it easier to hit their specific target. But it uses our attack, and it doesn't say that it doesn't count as our attack for the turn. So we would have them rotate so that potentially their bonus attack side, extra damage side, whatever it is, opening, would face us, but then they have a whole nother turn to move or adjust or whatever. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Then Killing Edge. The assassin attacks granting +40% dodge to the target of this attack. Why would we want to grant them more dodge? If this attack hits, it deals an additional 18 rounded down damage, increased by twice the percentage of the target's missing wounds. And then again, they describe lethality when this power doesn't use lethality. We give them more dodge. And then if it hits, we do more damage. No. So of these, which seemed the coolest? Probably Danse Macabre. Getting her able to move around even more. Sounds really powerful. And finally, Abelard as a Vanguard. Bulwark. Until the start of their next turn, the Vanguard gains damage deflection against ranged attacks equal to the number of stacks of Unyielding Beacon on the Vanguard. Additionally, the Vanguard becomes immune to push and forced movement effects until their next turn. Good. Getting deflection sounds pretty powerful. Defense stance. The Vanguard gains +10, +2 times the number of Unyielding Beacon stacks, parry, until their next turn. Whenever the Vanguard parries an enemy attack, they immediately make an attack of opportunity with a -20 penalty to weapon skill against that enemy. Also could be good. Wall of Rockcrete. The Vanguard and their allies in a 3-cell radius around them gain +3 number of Unyielding Beacon stacks, temporary wounds. All affected targets suffer -50% less damage from the next attack. Effects last until the start of the Vanguard's next turn. I don't know how many allies we're going to have around Abelard. It's not a bad call, but not an amazing one that we need to rush out for. How does he get his stacks of Unyielding Beacon? Because I've forgotten that. Each attack against the Vanguard grants +1 stack of Unyielding Beacon. Each stack increases the resolve, blah blah blah. Okay, so he gets stacks just by being attacked. And then that's what powers up all of these other abilities. So we just want him to be getting attacked a ton. Until the start of the next turn, the Vanguard and their allies gain plus 16% damage and plus 16% armor penetration against enemies in a 2-cell radius around the Vanguard. Additionally, when this ability is used, all allies in 2-cell radius around the Vanguard gain the following ability, which costs 0 AP and 2 MP. The character can move to any cell adjacent to the Vanguard without provoking attacks of opportunity. Okay. Just makes it easier to target the enemies that he's adjacent to. That's not bad. Alright, choose an ally. All enemies in a 3-cell radius around the ally must make a willpower resistance test with minus 15 penalty. On a failed test, the Vanguard becomes their priority target. Good. Regardless of the willpower resistance test results, the chosen ally does not provoke attacks of opportunity from these enemies, can shoot enemies in melee range, and move as if not within the range of attacks of opportunity. So this is a way of him, like a taunt, to force enemies to focus on him when they are already around an ally. Very good. Provocation. The Vanguard forces an enemy in their melee range to immediately attack the Vanguard. All of the Vanguard's allies who are wielding melee weapons and adjacent to the enemy make an attack of opportunity against that enemy. The enemy suffers plus fellowship bonus, more damage from these attacks of opportunity, and has a minus 16% penalty to parry and dodge. I kind of like that too. I've just marked all of his abilities. All of his abilities are good. I like the taunt. I also like defensive stance. We'll go with forced distraction first, though. Oh, and you also get another talent. These are the ones that we're just used to from before, that I've kept skipping over. We can't do characteristic training of toughness or weapon skill, because we've already done those. We could boost his strength. Maybe Combat Master. We're wanting to get him into the thick of melee combat as a Vanguard. And this melee superiority says that if target is surrounded by more allies than enemies, they receive a plus 10 weapon skill bonus for each additional ally. So if we get him surrounded, enemies would start normally getting lots of weapon skill bonuses. We could potentially just overcome that. Melee weapon specialist only works with hammers and maces, which we don't care about. We do have the... Is it a power maul that we've given him? Give him swift movement. None of this really matters to me overly much. So I think I'm just going to go with Combat Master. And there, we're finally done with leveling up.